In 1845, Ireland was hit by potato blight, wrecking the crop on which a third of the population relied. Most of the good land was being used to produce food for England, and despite the Irish peasants starving, the English increased exports of ham and bacon. Upper-class Victorians had just discovered the cooked breakfast, and they wanted their full English. With no food to sell and no income, the Irish couldn't afford to pay their rents, and so they were evicted. Many of those who survived starvation decided they'd be better off somewhere else. They emigrated in their thousands, risking penury and death in the process.
A million starved to death. A million had to emigrate, over the space of a year and a half. There's Irish everywhere. It was like a squash tomato with the Great Famine.
The planet has got Irish all over it.
All over it, yeah. There's a green stain on the knees of everybody. And I've always suspected that there's a little bit too much of the crack in you.
Really?
I think there might be actually some Irish in you, and we're going to go and get you checked out.
I haven't got to pee on anything.
You don't have to pee on anything. But if you do want to pee on things, nobody will arrest you. It's not a major crime in Ireland.
We're heading to the Jeannie Johnston, moored in Dublin city centre. It's a replica of the original ship from 1847, which took people fleeing the Great Famine to North America. It's now a museum, and Andrew's arranged to meet genealogist Declan Brady to check my Irishness.
Yes, very good. Here's the boy.
Al, pleased to meet you. Welcome to Dublin.
Thank you. Well, so what do we do?
Let's look at your father's side.
Well, my dad, his family were from Buckinghamshire, and I think his grandfather, was a Scot. My grandmother is from Austria, is Austrian.
And on the other side?
My mother's parents were from Buckinghamshire.
Let's see what we can do with that.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
In the meantime, let's take a look around the Jeannie Johnston.
Yeah.
This is one of the famine ships.
Right.
That took the Irish to the New World.
At the time, it took 7 weeks to sail to America. Poor conditions and overcrowding meant that roughly 3 passengers out of every 10 died. That's why some boats were called coffin ships. In one case, a ship hit an iceberg and sank. The English crew jumped into the only life raft, leaving the Irish to fend for themselves. This is the accommodation, is it?
This is it. This was the business class version of emigrating out of Ireland during the famine. It was that level of an epic rupture. Even the middle class had to flee.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a little bit cheap to jail, but we've all shared flats at the Edinburgh Festival.
Yeah.
It's so hard to imagine that there were boats being diverted from the slave routes.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we can make more money out of stuffing people. They were
People who want to go make more money out of people who want to travel than people who don't.
Travel gives it a more kind of gap year vibe than it probably was.
They weren't going to America to find themselves.
No, exactly. Just 2 years, get over a girlfriend. this was it for life. There was nobody to complain to, and it didn't really matter whether you made it.
The Jeannie Johnston made 16 voyages in 7 years. She was licensed to carry 40 people, but actually carried up to 250. Unusually, nobody ever died on board because she always sailed with a ship's doctor. Andrews experienced poor conditions himself while sailing.
We sailed from Waterford over to Penzance,
Right.
and then back to Cork. And on the way over, it was a force 9 gale. The captain was this big bluff man from Cork. He had a big beard and a very strong Cork accent. And before we got really out into the open sea, I'd been just giving him all this just grief, just being a cheeky teenager.
Okay, I can find that hard to...
Yeah, you can get the idea. And then, honestly, I was delirious with puking. I was covered in puke. I was puking non-stop, right? And he came up to me at one point when he well and truly had me in his grasp. And he slapped me on the back, and out it came again. And he goes, "That's it, it's good for you, boy. You keep puking, son. Just if you puke up a green hairy thing, you stop there, because that's your
Puking apart, hopefully Declan's been successful in digging up my past.
Right.
Well,
Look, it looks like he's got some results.
I have been somewhat surprised.
Really?
He's tracked down a woman who married my 3 times great-grandfather in Paris.
She was born in India, but her mother was from County Cork. And her name, the mother's name, was Isabel Cray Shaw. She married Matthew Shaw. I have the church marriage record of Matthew Shaw and Isabella Cray, and they lived at Laurentum in Doneraile in Cork, and the Cray family were descended from the O'Neills of Thomond. You, Mr. Murray, are Irish.
Yes! Yes! Result! I'll take that. That's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, it's great. It's great to be part of the family.
The Irish never forgave the English for their treatment during the years of famine. Their demands for independence grew, but to no avail. 2 Irish Home Rule bills were defeated in the British Parliament. We wouldn't give up Ireland because it was far too handy a place for farming food and building ships.
What a harbour. Amazing.